Bonjour à tous les citoyens, jeunes citoyens du monde. Welcome, young citizens of the world. My name is Marc-André. I am the blessed and lucky privileged teacher that's a founder of Les Jeunes Citoyens du Monde. This will be a bilingual interview today with the wonderful and acclaimed author David Bouchard, qui a été honoré par l'Ordre du Canada, récipient de nombreuses récompenses prestigieuses au niveau littéraire. David is renowned for his insightful and captivating storytelling. He has brought to life numerous narratives, often drawing from Métis and First Nation perspective, while also exploring other cultures through his works. Alors, David, aujourd'hui, avec les jeunes citoyens du monde, nous allons discuter un peu de vos motivations, vos inspirations et du pouvoir que le conte et les traditions orales et l'écriture, la littérature peut rassembler les gens, connecter les gens de différentes cultures. Merci d'être avec nous aujourd'hui.
Un grand plaisir. Merci pour m'avoir invité, Marc-André.
Aujourd'hui, nous commençons avec une école. Nous avons un élève qui s'appelle Jeremiah. Welcome, Jeremiah. You are from West Allis High School in Wisconsin, USA.
How has your upbringing influenced your journey as a writer and your interest in cultural diversity in your narrative?
Well, let me start with the cultural diversity. My upbringing really, I don't think, had much of a bearing, Jeremiah, on the writings that I do and the lifestyle that I live. That all came later on. However, your upbringing was very much a part of that, Jeremiah. The fact is that I struggled at school. I'm severely dyslexic, and when I was your age, I struggled with the alphabet. That created a person who had to learn to think outside the box. And Jeremiah, if I'd have any one message for everyone out there, is that we all have a gift. And sadly, our school systems here in Canada, and I'm sure in Wisconsin, the US as well, tends to focus on curriculum and not on people. So I got through school. Don't ask me how. I didn't read a book from cover to cover till I was 27 years old. And I got through using my wit and my cunning. And that's a fact. And at some point, an elder said to me, David, how did you manage to become a school principal when you didn't read? And I said, Creator gave me the gift of raven. And Jeremiah, I've tattooed a raven here on my arm. And the reason for that is because when I wake up in the morning and I see that raven in the mirror, I look towards heaven and I thank my Creator and I say, thank you for the gift that you've given me. I will build my life on my gift, not on money or ego. It's a reminder. I tattooed that on, and it came much later, Jeremiah. When I was your age, I had no idea. So I just kind of went with the flow, which is what people do. And I managed to scrape by. And so my upbringing was what created the person I am today. And I remain a raven, and I always will, surviving on my cunning and on my wit. And it just so happens that the name for a community of crows is called a murder of crows. A community of ravens is called a storytelling. We're storytellers. And Jeremiah, I've always known I was a storyteller. Can you imagine? I was a high school administrator, and I dawned on me one day that I was doing the wrong job. And I went home and I said to my wife, Vicky, I'm not supposed to be an administrator. I'm a storyteller. And she said, come on, honey, you're going to retire in 6 years and you can tell all the stories you want to tell. And I said, no, I just left the school board office. I quit my job. And Jeremiah, I quit my job after 28 years because I was doing the wrong job. I'm a storyteller. And in the last 20 years, I've traveled 1 million miles and I've talked to 1 million people because that's who I am. And when I finally die and go on to meet my Creator, I'll be able to say, I used the gift you gave me, so thank you for that. And that, Jeremiah, all relates to my upbringing. I don't know if that speaks to anything that interests you, but let me say that. Let me add one piece to that. Growing up, Jeremiah, I didn't realize that I had blood that was mixed. I didn't realize that I had native blood. And we in Canada take great pride in the fact that we honor our ancestors and the bloodlines that flow through us. It just so happens that my Chippewa, you call them Chippewa in Wisconsin, grandfather was from Bay Settlement, just outside of Green Bay. And he married a woman who was I think they referred to her as Choctaw, and she was my grandma's name was Bonne Terre, but she was a slave, and that wasn't that long ago. It was in the 1850s, and all of a sudden I've been able to trace my history back to the U.S. to them and how they traveled the northern states from treaty to treaty, and I ended up in Saskatchewan in Canada. And the roots that we take in life is also a part of what we end up being, and that's what I ended up being. And looking at you, Jeremiah, I would prefer to hear from you because you've got dark hair and your skin tone tells me that you could have a diverse number of backgrounds. And I'd love to know, can I ask you real quickly, your ancestors, where do they hail from, Jeremiah?
I'm actually from Mexico.
Oh, I love Mexico. You speak Spanish.
Yes, I do.
So you've got two languages, English and Spanish, or is there a third one in there?
French too. Yeah.
Look at you. You're on a roll. Good for you, Jeremiah. And our cultures are very, very similar. And one quick thing, if I can, because I know I'll be running out of time, that we have in common is that your ancestors were heavily into music, as every culture is. And we shared that from Mexico all the way up to Canada. We played flutes. And even now, South America, you'll see that they play a pan flute. In Mexico, there's a lot of that. And this is a little flute that my ancestors from Wisconsin played. And I don't know that you'll be able to hear it because this is on Zoom. By the way, just another thing that you and I have in common. Jeremiah, did I answer your question? I don't know.
Yeah, you did.
Come on, add to it. What would you like me to add to, or what is there that wasn't real clear?
Wasn't real clear. Where did you start? Like, like when you started making your narratives. How
Yeah.
did you start?
What was your first story? What was your first book?
I guess you know that, Jeremiah, that all of your life is a story. Stories are, and I guess for me, because I was a talker and I love to talk, and I got in trouble, Jeremiah, in kindergarten for talking, where my kindergarten teacher looked at me and she said, I was 4 years old, Bouchard, veux-tu taire? Bouchard, do you want to stop talking? And I looked at her and I said, no, ma sœur. I knew then I loved talking, but it wasn't just me letting it out. I loved hearing what other people were going through. And if I met you on the street, Jeremiah, I would say, hey, what's your background? And you and I could sit and talk for an hour. And I'm sincerely interested in stories and in your story, which is why at the age that I am now, which is 71, Jeremiah, I love stories. And because of my disability of being dyslexic, so many stories I would like to read that I can't read because of my confusion with sequencing. For example, Dune. I tried and man, it was tough. So what did I do? I listened to it. I have a membership on Amazon, on audible.com. Last year, Jeremiah, I listened to probably 50 to 75 books. Yeah, I've always been a storyteller, and I think that's what writers are. We tell stories, only we write them with our fingers instead of speaking them. And as a writer, I'm really so thank God for editors. Somebody will look at my story and say, well, you need some help with this. Jeremiah, it started, for me, it was always there. It was innate. I was a storyteller, and somebody should have picked up on that, and no one picked up on it. I was 45 years old when it dawned on me, and I had to quit my job so I could start telling stories and eventually turning those stories into books. And at this point, Jeremiah, I have 74 published books, which is a riot when you think about a kid that didn't read at all and who struggles as an adult reader. Tell me, Jeremiah, are you a reader?
Yeah, I love reading.
Have you got a favorite book?
Harry Potter, first one.
Me too, by the way. If you'd have asked me, I would have said Harry Potter. And right up there on my bookshelf, I have Harry Potter, the first series signed by J.K. Rowling. No, I won't sell it to you. And yes, I know what it's worth. Yeah, I loved Harry Potter. And after Harry Potter, I tried Lord of the Rings. For me, it was a no-go because of sequencing Gandalf, and I was lost. Jeremiah, what are you reading now?
Now I'm reading a book called Invasion. Yeah.
Do you remember the author?
The author, I don't remember the author.
I'm not good at authors either. And obviously, is it fantasy or is it historical fiction or
science fiction? Yeah.
a lot of people your age love sci-fi, and And I've gotten into it too. Obviously, you heard me say that I loved Dune, and I've read, there's a whole sequence of books. Like it's not just the two. There's about 10 of them, and I've read, I think, most of them. Okay, I think I'm going to be running out of time.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Jeremiah, thank
Jeremiah,
you for doing this.
It's so great to have you again, Jeremiah. That was a beautiful exchange. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremiah.
So we
Okay.
go now to École White City School on Treaty 4 lands in White City, Saskatchewan. Amy?
Hi, David.
There, I see you. Hi, Amy. I'm one of the few who knows exactly where you are.
I know you do. I know you do.
Good to
And
see
it's
you.
been about 3 years since we had this kind of exchange. So I'm happy to see you again.
Yeah, you're not aging. You're the same. Yeah.
Thanks. Your work often reflects the perspectives of Métis and First Nations communities. What
Yeah.
draws you to these narratives, not just your own, but other narratives? And how do you approach portraying them authentically?
Amy, that's deep, and it's a good question. And I'll be honest with you. I when students ask me that, I answer them the same way I'll answer you. When I was younger, I didn't understand what genetic direction or genetic memories are. But if you read anything by Jean Auld, who wrote Clan of the Cape Bear, Clan of the, she talks about the species that existed prior to Homo sapiens and how Neanderthal couldn't speak, and yet they had a society where, literally a society where there was a doctor in every community. It was always a woman. And the reason for that was because the woman retained memories, genetic memories from her own grandmother, and they knew which herbs and which grasses cured. I subscribe to that. I believe that my grandmothers live in my DNA, and I tell youth always, kids, you didn't only inherit the color of your hair and your eyes from your grandmothers. You inherited more than that. Inside of you, in your DNA, you have memories from your grandmothers. And what you want to do is learn to tap into those memories, dream them, which is why the Haudenosaunee and so many Indigenous cultures will actually lie back and we close our eyes and we'll dream and let those dreams talk to us. Amy, I believe that. Sometimes, and I guess for non-Indigenous people, the example that I always give is that Jim and I were standing looking at the ocean one day, and I said, Jim, it was our first visit to the Pacific, and I said, I'm cold, let's go. And his response to that was, no, I want to stay here. I don't know what it is, David, but there's something that's got me, something has grabbed me. And that, I don't know what it is moment, I sincerely believe is your grandmothers that are speaking to you saying, Jim, don't move. That ocean was so meaningful to me because of that. I don't know what it is moment, but so Amy, honestly, I go to bed and I say, Grandma, come on to me. I need some help. I wrote a book called The Seven Sacred Teachings, and I really liked doing it. It's been a major success for me as a writer, for Christy as an illustrator, for the publisher. So it's been wonderful. And when it was done, she reached out to me and she said, David, I had breast cancer. And I said, oh man, Chrissy, she said, and I've got to take a year off. And I was wondering if there was another one of these that we could do together. I'd love to paint it during my year off. And I said, it's not a series, Chrissy. It's just kind of a standalone. It's almost biblical in nature. And she said, well, I went to bed that night, and I swear to you, this is a fact. I closed my eyes. I said, oh, Grandma, there's a little girl that needs this. Come to me, please. And I woke up at 4 a.m. and I wrote Dreamcatcher. And the seven, and the Dreamcatcher and the seven deceivers, and it was just so natural, and it was for me, it was just a revelation, and it was a coup. And I believe that it came directly through genetic memories, and I believe my grandmothers inspired me and gave me that story that I was able to share, and Christy was able to paint. So much of what I do comes from that kind of thing. And then there's the old, as you live thing. So when Jeremiah asked me, how does your life experiences add to that? Well, moving to Victoria from Saskatchewan, there was just so many different nations here, so many colors of people in Saskatchewan. I mean, the only Chinese person that I knew were the Wongs. They own the Star Cafe. So I knew nothing whatsoever about the Chinese culture. When I moved here, and I went to Chinatown, I started to explore. And when I realized how racist and how bigoted and how cruel we had been as Canadians to the Chinese who built the CPR, I wrote a book called I Am Not a Ghost, and in it, I didn't cut no corners. It was the truth. We were bigots, and we are racists, and we've got some work to do. And if you think for a second that we've done changing, you're wrong. So I tried to be honest and open, and that came from being here and a new life experience. But most of it, honestly, and it comes from my grandmothers. And I wish that we could tell all children, kids, go to bed and open your heart and let them come to you. They're there. Dream it. And it, as the Haudenosaunee will say, dream it and it will come, but what a nice way to have that memory of having seen her at the end that way.
Very special memory. Alors, nous allons maintenant avec Annika, qui est à mon école, à l'école
Amy.
Saint-Sacrement. Annika, tu vas poser une question à propos de I Am Not a Ghost.
Oui, un livre qui a été très populaire avec nos élèves de la 5e année. Alors, ma question, c'est votre dernier livre, Je ne suis pas un fantôme, met en lumière les injustices subies par les cheminots chinois. Pourquoi est-il essentiel d'attirer l'attention sur ces réalités historiques et quel rôle la littérature joue-t-elle, selon vous, dans la lutte contre ces injustices?
OK, wow. Annika, quel rôle. Lorsqu'on se rend compte de ce qui se passe aux États-Unis avec des livres qui ont été bannis, on se dit, pourquoi? Et de ma part au moins, c'est que nous, on n'est pas prêt pour accepter qui on est, ce qu'on a fait. Et si on n'est pas prêt, on ne changera jamais. Donc, j'ai voulu, moi, dans ce texte, dans ce contexte, aider à nos jeunes de comprendre qu'il y a plus à l'histoire que ce qu'on lit dans les livres traditionnels. Parce que c'est pas toujours la vérité, hein. Ce qu'on a dit de nous, les Autochtones, c'est pas du tout la vérité. L'histoire qu'on a contée sur Sir John A. Macdonald et le Parlement et. Donc, ce que j'ai voulu faire dans ce contexte, c'était pour dire à nos jeunes, la vie beaucoup plus que ce que vous voyez là. Et par ce moyen, non seulement par mes paroles et l'histoire que j'ai contée, mais par les illustrations et l'art d'un artiste chinois qui est extraordinaire, de leur aider à comprendre les réalités et la vérité dans le monde. Et je dois aussi leur dire, Annika, s'ils ne savent pas, ces jeunes-là, c'est que un homme très important en commerce canadien, parlons-nous de Monsieur Louis, H.J. Louis, et lui, il est le gérant de tous les London Drugs, Loblaws. Donc, il y a des moyens économiques incroyables. Il a lu le livre, puis il a dit, c'était la vie de mon grand-père. Et pour moi, c'est tellement important que j'aimerais acheter 2 copies que je vais placer dans chaque école, dans les 4 provinces de l'Ouest. Donc, cet homme-là a vu que pour une des premières fois, quelqu'un était prêt à offrir la vérité à notre jeunesse. Monsieur Louis a acheté, je sais pas, 8000 livres, puis il les a placés dans chaque bibliothèque, dans l'Ouest canadien, dans nos écoles. Et c'était pour moi une confirmation du fait que j'avais bien touché sur la vérité et j'allais avoir un effet sur les jeunes, comme sur les plus âgés, comme M. Louis même. Annika, ça répond-tu un peu?
Oui, super, merci.
OK.
Merci à notre gardienne de la connaissance, à notre école qui enseigne à nos élèves et qui elle nous a donné beaucoup de trésors de livres et c'est grâce à elle que je te connais, David. Alors, je la remercie.
Oh, Annika, moi aussi, je te remercie.
Maintenant, on va avec une élève de l'école David Bouchard qui est nommée d'après vous, mon cher monsieur.
Hey.
C'est spécial. Alors, l'élève s'appelle Elena.
Elena, je te vois, mais ça dit caverne Sénaclopèse.
Moi, oui, je m'appelle Madame Sénaclop. C'est parce qu'on a eu du mal avec notre Chromebook aujourd'hui.
OK. Mais l'élève, c'est
Helena.
Helena et son autre famille.
Oui.
Helena, ton autre famille, c'est quoi?
Oui, non, ton nom de famille. Helena quoi?
Ostapowicz?
Ostapowicz?
Oui.
Polonaise?
Polonaise? Oui.
Ostapowicz
Non.
ou ukrainienne?
Ukrainienne.
OK.
Ukrainienne.
Oui.
OK. Elena, ça me fait un grand plaisir. J'aimerais tellement te rencontrer,
Oui.
mais ça fait un bout de temps que j'ai pu visiter votre école, notre école. Et sincèrement, ça me dérange énormément parce que chaque fois que j'y pense, j'aimerais tellement être avec vous. Et Nana, tu devrais savoir que j'ai écrit à votre direction 2 ou 3 fois pour dire, écoute, j'aimerais vraiment venir. Tout ce que vous devez faire, c'est m'inviter. Et c'est pas arrivé encore depuis longtemps. Donc, ça fait un bout que je suis pas venu. Et c'est pas de ma part parce que j'aimerais vraiment venir te rencontrer. OK,
C'est
Elena.
bien de savoir ceci. Merci. Merci.
Mon question, c'est Monsieur Bouchard. On dit que vous avez une cabane à Victoria où vous accueillez des enseignants et les gens. C'est ainsi que les enseignants peuvent avec les élèves aussi pouvons rendez-vous.
OK, Elena, tu me parles de ma
Moi,
cabane, de mon chac, hein?
Oh, oui, oui, oui. Elle veut savoir si on pourrait avoir rendez-vous avec vous, prendre rendez-vous à la cabane aussi des enseignants avec les élèves.
Oh, ça, je l'ai bien compris. Tu veux dire sur Zoom, Elena, ou tu veux dire en personne?
Ou en personne. Tu vas aller en ligne ou tu vas aller en personne?
Je pense personne.
En
OK,
personne.
right on. Et j'aimerais bien t'accueillir aussi. Elena, as-tu vu mon chac?
Non, je pense que non.
OK, regarde. Tu me permets? Regarde.
Oui.
Ça, là,
C'est vraiment joli. J'aime ça.
justement, là, tu peux voir mes flûtes parce que je collectionne presque tout. Les tableaux d'art parce que je collectionne l'art que j'adore. Et normalement, s'il y a des illustrations authentiques de mon livre, je les ai sur le mur. Le plafond, tu veux voir, tout ce que tu vois, Elena, est recyclé. Les portes, recyclées. Facebook Marketplace. Je continue le foyer, là, tu vois, recyclé. Facebook
Oui.
Marketplace. En montant, même les illustres, les chandeliers. Elena, j'ai acheté, moi, ces 2 illustres-là au, au Restore pour 100 piastres chaque. 100 $ chaque, Elena. Sont-ils cool ou quoi?
C'est cool.
Oui, c'est vraiment cool.
OK, écoute, Elena, c'est un mot qu'on utilise à Paris à plein temps. C'est cool, cool. Tout est cool à Paris.
Oui, c'est vraiment
Et,
cool.
Elena, tu devrais savoir aussi le fait que tu apprends le français. Quel cadeau. Je dois dire que c'est un cadeau énorme. Elena, je viens de la Saskatchewan, là où il fait moins 40, 40 below zero, l'été. Il était froid, venteux.
Vraiment froid.
Je te dis, justement, et il y avait tellement de jeunes comme moi qui auront voulu déménager en Colombie-Britannique, là où on a les montagnes, les oiseaux, les aigles, les oiseaux-mouches, hummingbirds. Justement, le climat est extraordinaire. Elena, je suis ici, moi, à cause du fait que je suis francophone. I'm
Oui.
here because you can understand me when I speak English et tu me comprends lorsque je te parle en français. Et c'est un
Oui.
cadeau
C'est ça.
énorme. Quel cadeau. Elena, tu vas l'avoir, ce petit cadeau aussi. Hi. And that's just part of what changed my life, Elena. On m'a appelé de Paris il y a environ 14 ans. Alors, Monsieur Bouchard, j'ai dit, oui, c'est moi. Monsieur Bouchard, je m'appelle Philippe et je t'appelle du Paris. J'ai dit, ah, Philippe, bonjour, Philippe de Paris. Monsieur Bouchard, on entend dire que vous êtes auteur. Et j'ai dit, oui, je suis un auteur. Et que vous êtes métisse. J'ai dit, oui, je suis métisse. Hey, on aimerait vous inviter au Salon du Livre à Paris. Le salon. OK. Elena, it's the biggest book fair in the world, French. Après ça, c'est Montréal, mais à Paris, j'ai dit. Et vous allez payer? Absolument, on va payer votre vol, on paiera votre hôtel, les repas, tout. J'ai dit, est-ce que je peux amener ma femme? Oui, certain. Amène ta femme. Et ma petite fille? Oui. Elena, le fait que je suis francophone, françaiscois en plus, francophone de la Saskatchewan, ils m'ont adoré. Ils adorent mon accent. 13 années. 13 years in a row, on m'invite à Paris pour le Salon du Livre. Pourquoi? Parce que le cadeau que le créateur m'a donné, c'est celui de la langue française. Vois-tu la fleur de lis? C'est un cadeau énorme que tu as toi aussi. Hey, que t'es chanceuse. Et t'es ukrainienne. Elena, je dois te dire que je pense, moi, chaque jour à la situation en Ukraine. Et si je pouvais, moi, faire une différence, je le ferais. Et c'est pas ta faute, c'est la mienne. C'est notre génération qui a laissé tomber la balle. Et j'aimerais tellement changer la situation en Ukraine. Ça me casse le cœur chaque fois que j'y pense. OK. Elena, tu peux voir que j'aime parler, hein? Excuse.
Oui.
Est-ce que
J'adore parler aussi.
Oh.
Oui, je viens. Quand je à mon maison, je n'ai pas arrêté de parler. Mon grand-maman, elle a dit, arrête de parler, arrête de parler. Tu parles tout le temps.
Elena,
Oui.
lorsque j'étais en maternelle, puis j'avais 4 ans, l'enseignante, Mère Sainte, Mère Alphonse m'a dit, Bouchard, veux-tu te taire? À 4 ans, j'ai dit, non, ma sœur, j'aime parler. En
Oui.
quatrième année, encore c'était Mère Sainte, je me souviens pas, Bouchard, tais-toi. Et en 9e année, Elena, j'avais, je sais pas, 15 ans, 14 ans, un prêtre par le nom de Père Desjardins m'a regardé et il a dit, Bouchard, ta gueule. Wow. Elena, ta gueule, ça, c'est pas gentil. C'est la bouche, pas d'un humain, mais d'un animal. Et je me suis dit, ça, et toi, t'es censé être mon héros. Elena, c'est un cadeau énorme, le fait que tu parles français et que tu aimes parler. Tu vas être sans doute
Oui.
un jour un éducateur, hein, enseignante
Oui.
ou auteur. Peut-être les deux comme moi. Elena, je t'embrasse. Allons à Tim Hortons depuis prendre un café. Je sais où Tim Hortons se trouve près de notre école. Je suis allé souvent.
J'aime.
Merci, l'école David Bouchard. Merci, M. Bouchard, d'avoir jamais arrêté de parler.
Elena?
Bonne
Oui.
chance. Je vous embrasse.
Merci.
Monsieur Bouchard, on doit terminer. Alors, notre dernière question, en fait, c'est moi qui vais vous demander, merci tellement de nous avoir joints aujourd'hui. Est-ce que vous pouvez nous partager des projets sur quoi vous êtes en train de travailler présentement?
Marc-André, j'ai toujours quelque chose dans le feu, hein. Évidemment, j'ai un texte, j'ai un livre qui sort, un roman qui sera publié, qui est publié au Manitoba. Je crois qu'il est en train d'être imprimé. Il était censé sortir au mois de mai. Et c'est sur la vie de, pas la vie de Louis Riel, mais les circonstances qui ont fait que Manitoba sont devenus partie du Canada au lieu des États-Unis. Parce qu'il y avait un mouvement irlandais qui ont voulu que le Manitoba devienne une partie des États-Unis. Et le livre est appelé Out of the Shadows. Donc, j'ai ça. J'ai un outil qui sort qui a à faire avec le bâton parlant. Le bâton parlant, un talking stick. Un jour, mon éditeur m'a appelé pour me dire, c'est-tu l'histoire du bâton parlant? J'ai dit, en effet, c'est le bâton qui parle. J'ai dit, quoi? Connais-tu l'histoire du bâton qui parle? J'ai dit, non, je sais pas. Fais un Google, voir, tu trouveras peut-être. Elle a dit, non, j'ai passé 2 semaines à rechercher. Il y a rien. Pourrais-tu écrire quelque chose? J'ai dit, évidemment, c'est ça que je fais. Je rêve, j'écris. Donc, j'ai un nouveau livre qui sort n'importe quand, là, parce que c'est illustré, c'est écrit, c'est fait accompli. Le bâton qui parle, en anglais, The Talking Stick. Et illustrations sont incroyables par une jeune femme Abenaki, qui, elle, vient de Sudbury, donc elle est francophone, anglophone, les deux, elle parle les deux. So I'm blessed and I'm a bit on a roll, I must say, Marc-André, but at some point you get tired and you simply want to sit back and watch the Canucks. Well, okay, let's not go there.
We love the Canucks and we wish them a good golf season.
Écoute, don't, that's not funny.
No, I'm sorry.
Marc-André, no, justement, and we do. I was so proud to be a British Columbian when I watched the way the fans cheered, even though we were perhaps outmanned, outmuscled, outplayed. I was so proud of being a British Columbian to be able to say that's how we compose ourselves. Yeah. Okay. To all of you, And I say to the students, Amy, it's good to see you again. Jeremiah, I hope someday to be able to buy you a coffee. And if it's in Canada, it'll be at Tim Hortons. And if it's in the US, you can treat me. Merci tout le monde. Have a wonderful,
Merci tout le
wonderful
monde.
day.
I hope we can meet again, David. I
Ce
hope we
sera
can
beau.
work on something together. Thank
Ce
you.
sera beau.
Au revoir tout le monde. Merci.
Au revoir,
Ok.
merci beaucoup.
OK, tout le monde. Ciao.
À la prochaine.
Bye-bye.
Oui.